Hey guys, I'm Nate and I'm here to talk to you about my bow setup, specifically my sight. It's the React Trio Pro from Trophy Ridge, and I have been running this sight for several years now. It's been my go-to, the only sight I use and have used for a long time. The reason I like it is it's just super versatile with the ranges it offers, being able to shoot whitetail stuff in 20, 30, 40 yard range very accurately, but also being able to dial it down and need to shoot out to 80 yards or doing some of those summer tack tournaments, things like that, you can shoot out to 100 yards, no problem. So I'm gonna kind of go through what you're gonna do initially out of the box and getting it sighted in. So I already have mine, it's all sighted in from this season, so I'll kind of just talk you through it a little bit here. So first thing first, out of the box, it's a pretty looking sight. Get it attached to your bow, make sure your axes are good, everything's level. I'm shooting the Bear Persist 33, which is nice because it has the level here that you can make sure everything's dialed in. But out of the box, getting it attached, there's the first couple things that you're gonna wanna make sure. Number one is make sure that this wheel is all the way up at the top. I'll show you here. It's gonna max out at the top. You wanna be sighting in your first range with this wheel all the way at the top. The first thing you wanna do is sight in 2 ranges. And you're gonna sight in using the bottom green pin on the sight. I always sight in 40 and 60. You can sight in 40 and 70, 40 and 80, whatever you're comfortable with and being accurate at the longer range. It's just to dial in your tape. You need just 2 ranges there. So I always do 40 and 60. And sighting in 40, you make sure it's at the top with this big wheel, and then you can sight in using these micro adjustment knobs right here, both of these. So it's gonna be up and down. This is gonna be your left to right. And once you get this left to right dialed in at this first 40 yards, you shouldn't really have to touch it much anymore, besides some tweaking if you're slightly off and notice at a longer range. So 40 yards, all the way at the top, using these micro adjustments to dial in 40 yards. After that, I'm going to move this knob down some bit. I should also mention, when shooting 40 yards is your first distance, start closer. If you've sighted in bows before, you should know this, but just start at 10, 20 yards and then narrow it out. You don't want to be shooting 40 yards at your first shot, because you just don't know where the arrow is really going to go with an unsighted in sight. So I always like to start in 20, 30, make these adjustments as you move out to get to that 40 yards. So 40 yards is dialed in. Then we're going to go out to 60, 70, 80, whatever you want to do. I do 60. So, and that's also slightly a guess. You're going to want to move the sight down somewhat appropriate level. You could just kind of do 10-yard increments again, 50, 60, to make sure you're getting out there and not going to be losing arrows or anything like that. So again, your left to right should be good to go. Once you get your 60 dialed in using this big knob, just keep moving it down until you hit your 60 and you're on the money. Then that's the hard work. You're done with most of it. Then you need to find some sight tape. So it's important when marking these 40 and 60s, obviously your 40, you're gonna be at the top of this wheel, so you'll know where to be, but I always bring something to be able to mark these ranges, 40 and then 60. And then get to your sight tape. Find out which 40 to 60 yard gap fits those marks that you just dialed in. Grab your tape, put it on your sight, just like I have there, and that's the React technology. After you sight in these 2 yardages, everything further out should be dialed for this bottom pin. Once that is the case and everything's out, you can do some practice shots, go out to 80, make sure it's hitting good at 80, because anything will be really shown at those further distances if you're off a little bit. I bring it all the way up to the top again at 40 yards. I'm going to sight in these top 2 pins, the top green and the middle red, using these adjustments with the Allen right here. So I'm going to adjust that. I'm going to shoot that top one for 20 yards. I'm going to shoot that middle one for 30 yards. And after those are dialed in, I always like to check. I'll take this sight, I'll go down to 60. So then bottom pin 60, Middle will be, it'll just be 10-yard increments. Middle will be 50, top pin will be 40. I wanna just try those at different ranges as well. If you're comfortable in shooting longer ranges, I'll go down to 80 bottom pin, 70 middle pin, 60 top pin, just to verify that everything's hitting where it needs to be hitting. That is how I sight it in. It typically takes me 5 to 10 minutes at most, getting those 2 yards done, sighting in 20 and 30 yards. And again, it's my go-to sight. I love it for everything. I think the 3-pin is a big reason why I like it, because I always like to have some, I don't know, some backup in case my range fails. With whitetails, sometimes we'll be walking at you, you don't know when they're gonna stop. You wanna be able to have, 20, 30 yards of variance that you can do off here. Western big game, sometimes you bump an animal and they bounce out another 10 yards. I like to have this backup to where you can have a few yards. You can have a 60, 70, 80. You can have a 55, 65, 75. You can have all that variation. So that's the React Trio Pro from Trophy Ridge.